So if I look at the three pillars and I walk into a store and I'm seeing more examples of this, and you guys probably are as well, where, we started with buy one, get one free. We've got 10 for $10. Now I'm seeing what I think is one of the most absurd ones. And I'd like to get both your opinions on this. You buy two, you get three free. Now, I think that probably makes most shoppers happy, but what's the impact on the grocer?
I'd say I'm not sure it pleases all the shoppers. The notion of having to buy five of anything, whether it's a bag of chips, a 12 pack of soda. So to get, what you view as a good price, what the shopper views as a good price means that I have to just fill up my cart, my pantry with so much product that, it may end up being a dissatisfier. And to me, it's a red flag that one's regular price isn't right.
Yeah, yeah. So totally agree, Steve. Yeah, it definitely feels like it's going to make the shopper happy and it will in that moment, right? Oh, great. I'm getting, 5 12 packs of soda. I think that's such a good example because the regular price for soda is so different than that multiple price. And what you're actually doing is that you're training the shopper to look for those deals and to really not buy that product when it's on regular. And, let's say you buy those 5 12 packs, you run through them and it's time to buy more. You head to the store and now they're eight. Now you're frustrated as a shopper, right? You're like, I'm not used to paying that. I am trained to be paying a much lower price per package, right? And now I feel like I'm getting ripped off. So I'm angry and I don't really like this grocer anymore. They've given me a bad taste in my mouth. So maybe I don't want to go back. Maybe I'm going to go somewhere else that has it more consistently priced a little bit lower. And I think high low can be very, very powerful. Multiple, buy one, get ones can be very, very powerful as well. I think you just have to be careful with that.
I think you're bringing up a really important point that, if we train shoppers for certain behaviors and then, we disappoint them, that they will go elsewhere or they'll go online versus going into a store. And with all the tools that they have now to compare prices, whether it's online or in store, it makes it that much more difficult for a grocer and hopefully, less reactive to what the guy down the street is doing. And just to build for a quick second on something that Steve talked about as far as quantities goes, I remember about 25 years ago doing a show on Oprah with warehouse clubs. And we took three audience members. We gave them each $100. We sent them into a warehouse club. They brought the product back to the studio. And I'll never forget this woman. I can picture her to this day. She was a Chicago policewoman. And, Oprah said to her, what did you buy? And she bought 100 rolls of toilet paper. And Oprah said, that's a lot of toilet paper. How long is it going to take you to go through that? So she said, well, I don't know. And then I said, well, where are you going to store it? In your garage? And she said, no, I live in a studio apartment. And needless to say, Oprah and the whole audience laughed. But to your point, at times, too much is too much. And 40% of all of our food in this country is wasted. And, it's fine if you're buying toilet paper, but if you're buying a perishable item or, just an item that has a shorter shelf life, you've got this as a problem. So, Steve, what do you think is driving these really big deals? Is it the retailer that's trying to compete? Is it the manufacturer pushing them to do it?
Yeah, it's a combination. I'm not going to let the manufacturer off the hook. Many times they're in a position where they're trying to deliver their volume goal for the quarter, and these big promotions, they may upset some shoppers like we talked about, but they do move a ton of volume, and so it helps them to achieve that quarterly goal in a sluggish retail environment today. So now let's think about it from the retailer's perspective. I think a lot of effort goes into trying to manage one's price imagery. And I think sometimes promotions, the consumer gets that moment of elation when they recognize a deal. But like Sarah described, it also comes with that moment of realization when they come back next week and it's on regular price at a price point that they frankly don't want to consider and probably won't consider. And it's one of the factors that I think is leading consumers to shop 4+ outlets on a weekly basis. Think about that, to bring in their entire requirements for a household They're shopping more than 4 stores per week. And it's cherry picking those deals. I think getting the regular price right could go a long way toward fixing that break in loyalty and that cross shopping behavior that we're almost incentivizing as an industry.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing